These are the exercises you need to make sure you're doing in 2024. Hey man, Gary Walker here, and welcome back for another video. This video is for all of you guys starting out 2024, trying to figure out what exercises you need to be doing. I'm gonna give you the best exercises for 2024, but specifically for men over 40. So if you're 40, 50, 60s or beyond, these are some of the better exercises for you. These are gonna be compound movements, and there's several different ways to do compound movements. So what I'm doing is giving you some of my favorites based on your age. And what that means is now that you're 40 or 50 or 60 or wherever you're at this stage in life, your joints aren't young anymore. Your recovery isn't like it used to be back in your 20s and 30s. So you have to do things differently. So these are gonna be some of the safer exercises for you to do, but exercises that are pretty much gonna be a necessity for you if you want to maximize your overall results with your workouts. The first exercise I'm always gonna tell you to do is a squat. Now, here's where this video comes in. Typically, when I say squats, everyone assumes you're doing a back squat. Well, now that you're older, and if, let's say you're just starting to work out again, you haven't worked out in a while, then I don't like to just load you up under a heavy bar. There's the spinal compression. There's the fact that you may not be able to do the exercises the way you're supposed to based on a limited mobility. So those are a lot of issues I look at with my older clients. So one of the things I like to do is find a way to modify the squat. Here, we're gonna use a goblet squat, but we're gonna use a landmine for this. So this is a landmine goblet squat. The thing I like about this, you can still use decent load, but you're also not gonna overload your spine. And there's a couple different ways to do this. You'll notice I'm gonna be pulling this straight off of the floor. If you have really mobile hips, for instance, what I mean by mobile, some guys can get down to here and that's as deep as you can go. And there's others that can come all the way down here. So if you've got very mobile hips and you can move like this, then you're probably gonna wanna set some plates on the sides. It's gonna allow you to step on here like a little platform, and you're gonna be able to sink down a little bit lower. However, if you have limited hip mobility, or even if you have knee issues to start out, what we're gonna do with this exercise is I want you to keep it just straight off on the floor. You stand on the floor with it, and you're gonna grab this. There's two different ways to grab the weight. One, you can cup it with your hands like this, or you can just do back and front like that. Whatever is more comfortable for you. But the main thing I want you to do is stand in a wide sumo base. So again, this is like doing a goblet squat. If you've ever done goblet squats with the dumbbell to where you're holding it here, or a kettlebell, you've got the weight up here and you're sinking down. The main difference with those, if you have limited mobility or you have a very weak core, a lot of times you start going forward with the weight. If the weight is out in front of your body like this, it can put a lot of stress on that lower back. It starts hitting that lumbar spine. So here, you can actually squat down right underneath this bar. And again, you can do whichever grip is more comfortable. I want you to keep your shoulders as straight as you can, and then you're gonna get into this position here, and you're just gonna lift, just like that. And what I don't want you to do is bend over and do this. If you're bending over and doing that, this is basically turning this into a Romanian deadlift. You actually want to, like I said, hip hinge. You wanna get your glutes back, your booty back. As that goes back, then you start breaking at the knees to sink down into this position. Just like that. Butt back, sink down at the same time. Straight up. Chest up, nice and tall. Straight down, straight up. So I really like this exercise. It allows you to really focus on getting a good stretch in your quads. You're working your glutes, and you're working that hip hinge movement. So there's a lot of benefits to doing this type of squat. Second exercise. Obviously, we started with a squat, a lower body exercise. Those are your large muscle groups. You also want to make sure you're doing anterior upper body, meaning chest. Chest movement, this exercise is probably my favorite now, especially compared to like a barbell bench press or something like that. The main thing I like about a plate loaded is you don't need a spotter. So this is a safe exercise, and it also removes the stability aspect of your stabilizer muscles. Typically, when you're younger, you've got a lot of stability in your joints. When you're older, we want to improve the stability, but initially you want to make sure you're able to push weight that your muscle structure can handle without the limited stability. Meaning, I know that sounds complicated, but if you've got dumbbells, you may be able to push 35 pounds, but you may lack the stability to do 35 pounds. So you may be limited to 25-pound dumbbells, only working 25-pound dumbbells because you lack stability. Now, there's other types of stability exercises I would rather you do until you gain stability strength. A lot of mobility, stability exercises, but that's a different video. This is all about strength-based, what's gonna give you the most bang for your buck, what's gonna allow you to build the most muscle, what's gonna allow you to build the most strength, and get the most benefits from your workouts. That being said, you do wanna do a chest press. That's why I always prefer a plate loaded. It's the most natural. It's not a pin selected, like the ones that you have the little pins that you're doing 20, 30, 35 pound plates. The problem with those is you've got one side that's probably gonna be overcompensating for the weaker side, whereas these work independently. So this is a unilateral machine, meaning each arm works independent of the other. So it's gonna help correct any imbalances, whereas those other pin selected machines, you can push the whole machine with one arm and they're moving at the same time. So what happens if one side is weaker and you're doing that, the stronger side is always gonna compensate. So the weaker side is gonna continue to stay weaker, and that can lead to a lot of muscular imbalances and potential injuries. So again, that's why I like this exercise. Let me just show you a couple of things here. What I mean by independent, each side has to work the same. Each side has the same load, and each side has the same range of motion. So that's why I like doing this. And again, if you can't push it up or you start losing control of it, you can just drop it and you're not gonna get hurt. Whereas if you've got a dumbbell and you're straining up here, a lot of times people will throw out a shoulder trying to keep from dropping the weight. Here, you just let it go and you're fine. So that's why I like this exercise for my #1 chest exercise. Upper body, anterior, meaning the front, I like the plate loaded. Anytime you're pressing, not only you're working your chest, but you're working your front delts. You're working your triceps. So it's a good push exercise. All those muscle groups that push is what you're working when you do this exercise. That's why plate loaded chest press is my second favorite exercise. #3, we're gonna come over here and I'm gonna show you a farmer carry. A lot of older men lack grip strength. They have weak cores. And this is one of my favorite exercises for improving both of those. You're basically just gonna get a weight that is fairly heavy. You wanna basically have to struggle to hold it. You wanna really work on that grip strength. And what we're gonna do is just walk. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna lift it as if I'm doing a deadlift. So I'm gonna get down here, stand straight up with it. And you want it to be fairly heavy. Like I said, keep your core tight, basically your abs. Squeeze your abs and you start walking. Just walk, just like this. And what this is doing, it's working your core, it's working your grip strength, it's working your trapezius muscles, you're working your shoulders. So you're working a lot of muscles when you're doing this one exercise. And it's a simple walk with the heavy weight. That's pretty much all it is. It's called a farmer carry. So this is a good overall body exercise. So we've done the front. We've done part of the bottom. One thing we're neglecting with the bottom part is the posterior, the back side, the glutes, the hamstrings, the low back. That's what we're gonna get with the next exercise. So let's come over here and you'll notice I have a trap bar set up. This is called a trap bar or a hex bar. Trap bar or hex bar deadlifts. The reason I like this for my older guys, it's basically a deadlift. However, when you're doing a typical barbell deadlift, it's really difficult to utilize good form when you don't have someone there with you to correct your form. So if you're just going to the gym, you're starting out doing deadlifts and you have bad form doing a barbell deadlift, it's real easy to injure yourself, especially if you're starting out with limited mobility. Again, if you have limited hip mobility, knees, anything like that, then you're gonna have an imbalance somewhere. And if you're forcing yourself to do a certain movement pattern, initially it may be okay, but that's gonna eventually lead to an injury. When we're doing a trap bar, you'll see all this room to step in here. This is a lot more natural exercise, a lot more comfortable. Your arms are down to your side. You're gonna do a hip hinge, just like you would any other lower body exercise. So when we did the LANDMINE goblet squats, I told you to hip hinge, get your glutes back. You're gonna do the same thing here. Glutes back, then while you're driving your butt back, then you start breaking down at the knees, start bending, 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 just like this. You wanna grab these, and it said, this is a barbell, your hands are here, they're over rotated. Now they're neutral to your sides, and you wanna keep your head neutral. You don't wanna look all the way up. Old school, we were always taught, even in squats, keep your head back just like this. You don't want to do that. Keep your head and spine neutral. Right here, you can keep your butt higher. This doesn't need to be a squat where your butt is all the way down here. Go ahead and keep it higher. Keep your core tight. Go ahead and get your shoulders locked in place and just step up. Now, the key with this, you're not just bending over and you're not just dropping down. Again, hip hinge. Butt back. Then you start breaking at the knees. Right here, reset, just like that. I like to reset as opposed to bouncing. I would rather nice, slow, under control, reset, lift. Nice, slow, under control, reset, lift. It's just gonna keep you in that safe and locked in position. So it's a lot easier on your body. Now for the last exercise. If you're thinking about what we've worked, then you may know kind of where we're going with this. One thing we haven't done really targeted our lats, our upper back, middle back. For this exercise, we're gonna come over here and we're gonna utilize a lat pull down. Why a lat pull down? If I had my choice, if you had good grip strength, if you had good overall body strength, I would tell you to do a pull-up. It's very hard to beat a pull-up. So with that being said, I've been coaching older men for a long time. Men come into my program can seldom do 5 pull-ups. Some guys come in, can't do any. I've got an 80-year-old that can do several pull-ups. So it's one of those things you can work yourself up to doing. However, to start out, I would rather you do this is the same motion, but it's something that you can do correctly and you can make sure you get the most benefits out of it. Basically, we're gonna do 2 things with this. The reason I like this, you can work right here in this plane of motion, or you can even bend back and work in this plane of motion. So you'll notice my hands, elbows coming straight down or back. So you can mimic a row or you can mimic a lat pull down. That's why I like these. If you're doing a pull up, you're basically just doing a standard pull up. You can't really mimic that row. And this exercise allows you to do both. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Basically, lat pull down, you're gonna target all areas of your back. Nice, I'm upright. You notice my hands and you'll see my forearms are completely vertical. That's what you want to do. Keep those elbows under your hands. That's one way this is mimicking a pull up, but you can see nice, slow, and under control, full range of motion. And you can also lean back into this slightly, and then you're pulling back. So when you do this, you're actually able to adjust the area of your back that you're targeting. So this is a high row. So you're actually able to do a high row here or more an upright lat pull down. So that's why I like doing the lat pull down machine more so than any other back exercise. So if you've got one upper back exercise to choose, this is typically the one I'm gonna tell you to do. Now there's barbell rows and deadlifts and all these other things that work the back from different areas, you know. So we already did the trap bar deadlift, which works the spinal erectors, the lower back, spinal column, the spinal erectors all around the spinal column. So you're gonna get all those posterior benefits. Now this is gonna allow you to complete the back. And the back is one of the most important muscle parts for everybody, but more specifically for men that are older, men that are 40, 50, 60, like I mentioned, or beyond. You wanna have a strong back. So this is one of the best exercises for that. So with that said, these are the exercises you need to make sure you're doing in 2024. However you need to structure your workout, just make sure you're choosing a couple of these exercises throughout each workout and you're gonna get great results. All of these are compound movements, meaning they're also gonna help build more muscle, build more strength, boost your energy, burn more calories, and even boost your hormone profile, your testosterone. So all of these are phenomenal exercises and they've all been slightly adjusted and modified specifically for you. With that said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comment section. Other than that, get busy, get after it, and God bless.